Back in the day, it was easy to get isolated and to also believe the propaganda published by magazines and or company that made them. To this day, people still believe some of the propaganda. Even knowledgeable people like Brian Lunduke still seem to buy apples. You bought the machine your friend had because you trust them, and well, they had it so that you'd be able to share tips and the like. Then you only go to the store that sells your chosen brand, and you buy the magazines that only cover your chosen brand. And those magazines and shops are never going to mention the competition, unless it's something negative. So I thought I'd take a look at the sales figures between the machines to get an idea of how big Commodore was in the home 8-bit market. However, comparing the Commodore 64 is just unfair and pointless. Everybody, almost everybody, understands the C64 destroyed everything in its path. But what about the rest? The C64 may have been a huge seller, but that is just one machine, right? So I'm not going to compare the C64. I'm going to compare C64's big brother, the C128. The C128 is often labeled one of Commodore's failures. But how does it compare to the rest? Let's start with the arch nemesis, Texas Instruments. Between 1979 and 1984, TI sold the TI-99/4 and the TI-99/4A. Honestly, until this video, I didn't know there were actually two models. And apparently, it got to approximately 1.6 million, which is amazing, but absolutely slaughtered by the 128. To the other rival, Atari. Between 1979 and 1992, they sold the 400, 800, 1200XL, 800XL, 600XL, 65XE, 130XE, and the 800XE, for a total of approximately 4 million all combined, which is a pretty good fight, but not 128 levels. To the other of the big three, Tandy, the TRS-80 of 1971 to 1991, which was the best-selling machine in America for the first few years of the computer race. The Commodore PET was the world's best-selling, but the TRS-80 won in the US market, proudly boasting it was beating the Apple II for a few years. But that is not really a big claim. Then getting thrashed by the Apple II, which is embarrassing. This was the TRS-80 Model 1. The 2 and 3 seem to be mostly mentioned as novelties. No hard figures, just over 100,000 plus. But given it bowed out to the Apple II and the rest are footnotes, I think it is really safe to say the 128 smashed it. The TRS color computer, nay Coco, of 1980 to 1991, again, no sales figures, not a good sign. The Coco 1 was very unpowered. The Coco 3 was a massive upgrade, but was only advertised with Coco 1 games on it, so it didn't look good. But it had a 6809 and a multi-user OS. It was quite a decent machine. But I don't think they sold very well. And I would think the TRS-80 plus Coco are not going to touch a 128. Incidentally, if anybody has or knows figures of the 8-bit 1000 range of machines, I would love to know or see them. Let's cross to the other side. Acorn. The BBC Micro of 1981 to 1994 seems to have sold approximately 1.5 million. The BBC Micro A, B, A plus 64, and B plus 128. I am unsure if this also includes the BBC Master series of computers, the Master 128, Turbo, AIV, ET, 512, Scientific, and Compact. However, I feel it is safe to say the Micro was the better selling of the two, So if it doesn't include the Master, we are still looking at 3 million tops. Honestly, you can probably add the Archimedes range and still not beat the 128. The Atom and Electron are also unknown. We know they did not sell well, the Electron stock being what put them under. But they were sold off later and seemed to have a small yet decent market, but probably more Commodore 16 plus 4 size than 128 size. To Acorn's rival, Sinclair. From 1982 to 1992, they sold approximately 5 million. ZX Spectrum, 16s, 48, pluses, 128, plus 2s, plus 2As, plus 2Bs, plus 3, and plus 3B models combined. 5 million is solid sales and almost matches the 128. To the Sugar, Amstrad. From 1984 to 1990, the CPC range of the 464, 664, 6128, 464 Plus, and 6128 Plus, and for fun the GX4000, combined sold approximately 3 million, putting the 128 at almost double. To Japan. The MSX standard of 1983 to 1993 contains the 1, the 2 Plus, and Turbo models. However, with them being made by so many companies, and then the Dutch versions, the Korean, the Brazilian, there was even a company in the Gulf making them. It is impossible to get any solid figures or definitive figures, just rough estimates of Japan. However, it seems Japan combined, they sold approximately 6 million, which is a win for the MSX range. But the 128 versus the MSX1 in Japan, the 128 wins. Versus the MSX2, again it wins. Against the 2 Plus, I dare say slaughters, and the Turbo, well, I think the TI-99/4 would slaughter it personally. In the world, though, it's fairly probable the 1 and 2 wins solo against the 128. That just leaves Apple. From 1976 to 1994, Apple sold the 1, 2, 2 Plus, 2E, Enhanced 2E, Platinum 2E, 2C, 2C Plus, and for fun the 3. This is the entire 8-bit Apple range. The 2GS is 16-bit. All up, that gives them approximately 5.5 million. The numbers come with caveats, hand-waving, and the clause that they were optimistic figures. I will be kind and say basically equal to the 128. Mostly because they are popular with schools, and the school model is the only model that's really sold well. If you add the 2GS, which again was popular with schools, that adds another 1.25 million, so the Apple II range does beat the 128. Model by model, it ranges from genocide to decent but not good enough. Technically, there is also the Apple IIe on a card for letter Max, again, basically only for schools, which is not included. The Commodore 128 sold approximately 5.7 million units, but the kicker is, it was on sale from 1985 to 1989. And while there's the 128, the 128D, and 128DCR, they are for all intents and purposes the same machine. The 128DCR has 64K of VDC RAM over the stock 16K. But they have the same spec on everything else. So if you made a Commodore 128 product, you had a single machine spec to target, and you would hit 5.7 million users in 1989. The graph is linear, both in scale and the sales figures. Obviously, in real life, they would be more logarithmic in nature with a climb than a plateau, as they represent a series of machines with another small or large bump as each new model was introduced, except the C128, which, being only one spec, may have got a noticeable vertical increase once the D model was released on the already more vertical line it would have been in reality. Now, the 128 was a failure because it didn't sell as well as the Commodore 64, the tall purple line. In fact, for every 128, there are 2 and a bit C64s. And to round out the trio of machines in the series, the VIC-20 probably sold around 2.5 to 3 million by the end of its life, seen here in the graph as the green line. Well, here it is shown as taking quite a while to overtake the Apple II. It basically raced past it as soon as it hit Kmart. Then, if we stop comparing Commodore models to the rest of the brands and combine the 2064 and 128 into a Commodore line, we get this doesn't have the million or 3 that the PET would have sold, nor does it have the million or so plus 4 range sales in it. I have also taken the lower estimate for the Commodore 64 sales, which leads us back to how big Commodore is. The scale is square root for those playing along at home, and so in conclusion, the Commodore range was high 3 times the competitor.